This first before we go?
Yeah, good idea.
Please. Okay. Om Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Deva Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Parabrahmam, Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Om Suklam Bharadaram Vishnum Sashivaranam Chatubhajam Prasanavaranam Dhyaye Sava Vigno Prashantaya. Om Bhurabhuvassuva Tatsavitovaenyam Bhagore Vasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yona Prachodayat. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
So welcome, everybody. We're starting this beautiful satsang in harmony with this wonderful time cycle, this wonderful time of Christ energy. And wherever there is that Shiva character, there's also Mother. And today we're going to be talking about the importance of this time cycle. And we've got all of you here. Thank you for joining in, because it's that mix of energy which is so profound and so important. Kaski, do you want to go ahead and kind of chime in here, and then Mohini as well, please?
Well, we decided to do the satsang for Easter because during this time, Jesus did an amazing process called the crucifixion. And the story from the Western biblical point of view doesn't give really the full story. So Swami came back 2,000 years later to bring forward the truth and the information surrounding what actually happened during the crucifixion. I have this lovely book that Swami wrote. So it is available. Paul has copies, and it's called The Real Life and Teachings of Jesus Christ. And to prepare for this satsang, I reread it, and there's really some very amazing information in this book that I had forgotten. And, Swami always said you need to read some, the information 10 times before you really get it. And it's true, because the more practices and the more meditations, and you're gaining deeper understanding with your Brahma consciousness. So going back and rereading, you pick up things that you might have not gotten previously. So it's a really important time cycle, Easter. Swami 2,000 years ago was there during the crucifixion. He participated and he helped through that process. If we go back to the original, how it all even started when in our discussion and in reading the book, the whole thing started when Mother Mary was having conversations nightly with Divine Mother and the angels. And she really wanted to do something about the suffering on the planet. She really wanted to help out. And Divine Mother said, you can't, because women are the nature. They can't affect upon the nature. So but what she can do is send a son. So the male aspect can work in the nature more. They just have a different, like Mohini was saying, the different energy structure between men and women. And so they just are able to hold energy better and be able to work in the nature. So Jesus was created out of Mahakali, and he was a pure crystal divine soul. It was his first and only incarnation on the planet. He had a specific role and purpose to help break the karmas and to uplift humanity into recognizing who we are. So he made a deal. Okay, wait, let's go. We'll get into there. But anyway, so Mother Mary started the process of bringing Jesus on the planet. What was really interesting in reading the book, while she was pregnant, I mean, Mother Mary was no ordinary character. She was a very high, amazing divine soul. So she already had a lot of capacity. But while she was pregnant, she was also doing processes. And during that time, Jesus, as he was developing in her womb, was also receiving all this information on a soul level. So he was also learning. And there's mantras, you can go, there's different processes that Swami taught for women who are pregnant that can help that child recognize and remember who they are. So he really was this amazing soul that came in, and then he, as a divine character, you know, Swami, when he came, he said he really didn't know who he was until Baba came to him when he was, what, 14? Is it 14? Yeah. And woke him up. I mean, took away the Maya, that veil away. And every single avatar that comes on the planet, Baba, Swami, Yogananda, Vivekananda, I mean, they all have to have a guru in order to take and lift that veil of Maya for them to remember who it is, who they are and why they came, because they come for a specific mission. So Mohini, do you want to continue? Because
so
continue.
I mean, I think that's really an important point, actually, you know, that no matter who you are or who anybody was, you have to do the practices. You have to practice the channels. So even Jesus practiced. And, you know, and here we are as, you know, a student group, a family, and we're doing the same channel, you know, working with the same energy and practicing the same channels. I think what was really important about, you know, understanding, you know, that Mary was a great soul and a great yogini, and she very evolved soul and did these yogas. The ones that Swami pointed out in the book that she had mastered by her, you know, within the first 3 months are the yogas that were required for her to fulfill her destiny, for her dharma, in order to allow Jesus to fulfill his dharma. So the channels that she practiced, I mean, it's fascinating. You have to read this in the book, you know, and sort of lit that veil, you kind of forget things, or so it's really great to go back and reread it. But, you know, the first thing she mastered was winning the Mother Divine, you know, and that was like the starting point, because in order for her to be successful during the crucifixion, to bring Jesus back, you know, to help Jesus come back, bring him back to life, she had to do it through the Divine Mother. And the second thing was mastering the elements. Okay. So, and then the third thing was Parakaya Pravesh, you know, so entering into a dead body in order to bring it back to life. So those three yogas are the things that she mastered by her 3rd month of pregnancy. And which is really pretty incredible to think about. And, that was to help her fulfill her dharma of assisting in the whole crucifixion process. And there are a lot of elements we can go into about her being his soulmate, but I think what's really critical is understanding the importance of mastering the channels and working together. And, Swami was there at the crucifixion as well, supporting energetically. And this all came together through a process over time. And, we're in that time cycle again. And so, we have to look at, okay, so this was planned before Mary even conceived, right? This was her desire becoming manifest. And then, Jesus, when he was young, he wanted to bring the truth to the planet. It was to help the people. So he was going to fulfill Mary's desire, but his desire was to help humanity, the suffering, and to bring the true knowledge to the planet. And she was there to assist in that fulfillment. And, so he went through this cycle in his life. And, and it ended with the crucifixion, which was the transmutation of the energy. And what Swami calls, the highest enlightenment, the understanding of life and death, taking the soul out and bringing it back. And it was this whole cycle that is, important to look at this time, because, we're in a moment now in the time cycle. And Swami talked about cycles all the time. Every process we did, everything has a cycle. And he would always say, you have to wait till the energy comes back around. And then each time you go back around, you come to a different level of understanding. You can go to a different level of receiving energy. You can, you're always going through cycles, our own cycles of creation and destruction in our personal process. And we're in that time cycle now for the crucifixion. And, it was all about, for Jesus, understanding life and death, that the greatest illusion that Swami talked about, and transmuting that negativity, the karmas. That's what, maybe Paul wants to talk about Khandana yoga and how that was that process. But it's the channels, that you're studying and practicing. Like even now, we're doing a lot of different channels. And then at some point, everything integrates. It all comes together. And that was like the crucifixion for Jesus. He practiced all these different channels. Mary practiced all these different channels. And then it culminates in a final, well, in that case, it was in, the crucifixion, but it integrates. And then you move on to the next level. And so we're always going through this process of practicing these different channels, integrating it, where something happens, we're demonstrating, the energy. For Jesus, it was a crucifixion. We're not going to go through that process of crucifixion, but in your life, in your personal process, there's an opportunity for a cycle. It's the destruction and the rebirth. So what is that for you? You've done a lot of work, a lot of channels, right? And it's been going on for a long time. Like with Mary, it started when Jesus was in the womb. For you, it started when you were born, and you came to Swami. Nothing happens by chance. So it's a building up. And this is a window of energy where there's that opportunity for the energy to integrate. And you can go through a cycle of that destruction, creation, and the manifestation, and come to that new level. And that's why it's really important for us this weekend, and for us to really understand those elements of that, so then we can apply it in our lives in a meaningful way. And maybe you want to talk about the, Khandana yoga, Paul, and what that means.
Can I address one quick question that they put in the chat?
Sure.
So, yes, Swami in the
right.
Shiva Ratri 2010 program
Mm-hmm.
did a women's process. So the men did their own process, the women did their own process. And we were talking about this last night. So Swami Mohini, you said he fixed for women the ability to work in the nature, like the male energy. because this, we talked about this last night, what exactly transpired, because in reading the book, my first question was, well, if women can't work in the nature, so what do we do? Does that mean we're a Bhairavi Mata? Does that mean, what does it mean? And in our discussion, Bhairavi Matas are still the nature. They're still affected a lot by the nature. But in the 2010 Shivaratri program, Swami did fix 4 women, that's past students, present, and future students, that we could help to work in the nature like a man, male energy, not like a man, but like a male energy aspect. So we're more, our energies are more stable. We're not being implemented or affected by it so much. Does that answer that question? Do you want to say anything else, Mohini?
Yeah, I mean, when he was talking about it, traditionally in India, when you hear about Bhairavi Matas, they're the female saints, but they're that wild nature, like you're pointing out. They don't have the ability to command on the nature. But he also said that, a woman cannot handle the negativity that comes at them. Their heart can't tolerate the level of negativity that comes. And I think that's really an important point, because it's huge negativity. And he even said the negativity of people's thoughts, because women, as you grow in energy, and we just have a different energetic structure, and we're more heart-focused center, and we can't tolerate typically, the level of energy, the power of the negativity that comes back when implementing high divine energy. The mother, if you think of it, she's everything, right? The beautiful and the ugly. And the women energetically, historically, couldn't handle that negativity. And so, yeah, he did fix that energetically for the women in that program. And it was through the Guru Parampara. Specifically, it was through Baba. Baba energetically, fixed the structure. So not that we don't feel it or experience it, but it won't damage and destroy. We still are challenged to get greater and greater levels of mastery, because energetically we are different than men. Men are different than women. There, you can't. And why would you want to change that basic structure energetically? But there's like this overlay of energy, through connecting through Baba, that allows us to handle those super high levels of energy without that negative backlash coming and destroying. So he fixed it so we can handle more. Just like he worked with the men, and you can talk more about that, Paul, because I don't really know what your process was, but he worked with the men to move more towards the feminine, my understanding, the feminine energy, or to handle the feminine energy, or you really need to speak to that. But it was sort of like a rebalancing, because women do need to work in the world. And historically, Bhairavi Matas, you never saw them really. They were like living in, I've heard some stories living in they were kind of wild. And they were never up front. You heard of the gurus, and they were always the men that were the gurus. But it was the Bhairavi Matas that would awaken them, but you never saw them. They weren't out front in the world working. Because they couldn't interact, because their energy, they were like what Swami would call an avadut. Their energy was completely, wild. So they could not really interact with the world. So with this rebalancing, and Swami had said, I will never let my students get to that point where you can't work in the world. So there was that rebalancing. So, and that was a program that had happened. So I don't know, Paul, if you would like to talk a little bit more about your particular process, from the male perspective.
Mm-hmm.
We kept on looking over at the women that were in the Baba temple, and we were over in the.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you. I don't know if
hold
it's
on.
me or you.
Can you hear me okay? Can you hear me now?
Yeah, that's perfect.
Okay, great. Yeah, I mean, it was it's it's a quite an interesting remembrance of a time, because one of the things that you said, Mohini, which was really important, is about integration. And you know, during the time of the ashram, we received so much, and we really uh, didn't know what we received until it actually manifested in our lives. And so we could see the reflection back. So we could say, oh, yeah, I know where that came from. That came from that process over in such and such a place where I didn't know what happened, but now I can recollect the experience and to understand, you know, darshans, to understand all this stuff. My experience is that what Swami was doing was balancing both the male and female energies within us.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, women have a certain level of power and men have a certain innate level of power. It's different. And all I can tell you is that from my standpoint, I have experienced a tremendous divine feminine energy within me rise up. How I know that is because of my ability to create and it's almost as if the female and the male energies within me are balancing, meaning their powers are increasing and they work synergistically together to implement into the creation. So, although for the men, it was more focused on the avadut side of our relationship to the nature, you know, where we feel more in tune with the nature and the power that comes back through the nature. It's kind of like, I'll go into Khandana yoga in a second, Kausaki, because that's an important point. But so when Swami said that he fixed it, you know, his terminology is quite interesting, but he really ignited a certain aspect within us. And that was my experience, because a lot of times the nature, you know, just I react to the nature. You know, sometimes I just, you know, automatically something will come out of me in response to the nature or response to people around me or response to situations and stuff like that. So, um, I hope that answers the question, because what happens is it's about our relationship with the nature, which is Mother Divine from a Shiva perspective, because I think that both males and females have that Shiva quality in us, you know, and I don't think people really understand that. People understand it from a worldly perspective, but from a spiritual perspective, just think about it. Shiva is the one that handles the poison. That poison that is created in the nature by Mother Divine. So at the same time, we're supposed to be sensitive and attuned to the nature, but yet we have to have the capacity to balance the poison within us, to not let it digest, but not let it destroy at the same time. And that sounds like my life on a daily basis. I mean, really, seriously, I mean, if you take it down from spiritual concepts and stuff like that, you know, I'm dealing with people's poisons every single day. And it's oftentimes a test for me to not vomit out that poison back, right? I mean, just practically, you know, when people throw their negativity on me unconsciously, you know, decharging, you know, instead of me reacting to them and vomiting out the poison and creating more reaction in them, but at the same time not digesting it inside me so that I'm negatively affected. So that is a skill set that a Swami has tried over his time period to instill in us. I mean, if you take a look at the whole concept of Jesus, the concept, basically, Swami wanted us to become more like Jesus. That's really the concept. And in that story about Jesus, we discover what it is that takes in order to become more like a Jesus. It means that we have to learn how to balance the poison. We need to be more receptive and open-hearted to the nature. We need to be able to have a strong womb chakra. I mean, that's what, that's part of Jesus's. If you take a look at everything about Jesus, he had a strong womb chakra. He had an amazing open heart. I mean, love was his final weapon, wasn't it? He was able to transmute the poison of others. That's a Shiva character. The open heart, that's a Shiva character. To be able to react to the nature, that's a Shiva character. All these things were examples for all of us to implement, practice, and to try to become more like Jesus. Talk to the angels. Talk to Mahakali. He merged with Mahakali, right? What does that mean? What does that mean for us? It means that we have to kind of embrace the nature and embrace the aspect of creation which is inside of us. So, Kundalini yoga was a high-level yoga practice whereby he implemented all his channels through the crucifixion. If you take a look at it, that crucifixion was one of the most complex culminations of the teachings that Swami taught us. He destroyed and then he refixed. That's Kundalini yoga. What is it that he destroyed, that got destroyed? His physical body. But then he was able to refix it. How was he able to refix it? Well, first of all, he had to understand the birth and death. He left his body. Literally, I mean, that's enlightenment according to the definition of Sri Kaleshwar, that you're able to consciously take your soul out and then bring it back so that you know that you're not the body. That's a very high level yoga, because that involves soul traveling. It involves being able to commune with the angels. It's at the time of crucifixion, he said that both mother and father were there protecting Jesus at the crucifixion. And that's the typical scenario that at every Kundalini yoga that I participated in, Swami always said, mother has to be there. Shiva has to be there. Why? Because the soul has to go back to Shiva, and then mother has to agree to allow that soul to come back in that process. I know it's very complicated to really understand these high-level teachings, but there are other aspects of it, because Jesus couldn't come back without his soulmate present there in the crucifixion, because that soulmate was the soul that anchored him so that he could come back to his body. At the same time, it was his soulmate that was able to help refix the body and the destruction that happened as a result of that creation. So you can see that there was a complex relationship between Jesus, his womb chakra, his soulmate, soul travel, angels, Mother Divine, Shiva, the destruction of the body, the refixing of the body. So the question is, what are these channels and how is it that we can help understand the deeper points? I know that's a big download that just kind of came, but we have to understand that that's a big example, but in our daily lives, we do it all the time. How often do we take the poison and transmute it? How often do we have around us something that's destroyed and within us the capacity to refix? I hope I didn't get off topic, ladies, but I hope that,
Really a great description. Can I just throw one more thing in there?
please.
The other element that I think is really critical is the role of the elements in the whole process. You know, Swami always talked about the foundation of everything we do is based on the elements, because obviously we live in a world that's very physical, a very dense world. But if you look at everything that you're talking about, right, all those complicated yogas that happened at that moment, it involved the elements in terms of the physical presence of that soulmate, the actual physical Shakti pot of that soulmate using what we talked about yesterday. You were saying the ash, right? So you were bringing up yesterday in our discussion that Mary used the ash to give Jesus Shakti pot. So to pull that super high divine energy down into this creation to bring him back to life, Mary had to have full mastery over the elements. And I mean, that's just sort of really hit me this in our discussion last night, you know, when you were talking about the ash and, you know, and reading the chapter, you know, she gave him Shakti pot, a physical. So it was like using the earth element to ground that high divine energy into his body to bring him back to life. And then through that, he was able to refix and complete the yoga, the Khandana yoga.
And you know, we can really, okay, so here's the question. How is this important to us now? How is this important to us in our spiritual development? You know, you said some really, really profound things, Mohini, which I think are so important. And the first thing I will say is that this is a really important time cycle. The energy is coming back around. So we want to be able to capture the energy of that moment in a way that helps us integrate even more and remove the Maya over our consciousness so we can begin to experience the divinity within us. The other thing is that, and I think it's really important, especially for people that are on a spiritual path, the transformation that we are all going through, and that includes everybody on this call, the transformation that we are all going through right now is layer by layer by layer. And I will never forget a process that I did with regards to Jesus. And I did several processes. He says, you can't take on all of Jesus's energy at once. It's just not possible. You have to take it drop by drop by drop. And I wanted to share with everybody on this call that the spiritual path is a process of integration. It's integrating the energy. It's first receiving the energy, and then it's somehow integrating into our subtle body in a way that it can take root within us. And that takes time. You know, we all want to get to nirvana like tomorrow. But the reality is that we're in an ongoing process and we have to be patient with ourselves to that process. So One is intention. Second is to be receptive to the energy. And the third is, how do we nurture and integrate that into our soul? And I think that the fact that Swami has only been, has left the planet only 9 years, um, I'm beginning to understand what he gave us all.
Well, in the book, it says it's going to take 300 years. So we're just at the starting point of all this. We are the ones bringing this energy forward. We're the ones starting to open the doors and the channels. So, it's going to be, like Paul says, a process, but we do the best that we can. And, Swami said, we don't have to do what Jesus did. We do not have to go through a crucifixion process. All we need to do is carry our own little bucket and keep those around us happy. Take care of 10 people around you. But if you think about, on a day-to-day basis, we are interacting with so many more people than that. I mean, the people in the grocery stores, the people on the streets, the people, your kids, your husband, your family members. There's so many more people that we're interacting with, and probably without our consciousness or our attention, the energy is flowing through us. So because we've done these processes, because we're linked to the Guru Parampara, we're, being this channel for this energy to be sent out to everybody we interact with. Whether it's just a smile on the street to somebody, or running your personal mantra for somebody, or whatever, it is a constant day-to-day that we're actually pushing this energy out. And it's going to take time for the changes to occur on the planet. So I think if you look at what's happening now, we are in a breaking and refixing process globally of what is happening around us. So there's many systems that are being challenged. Things are information coming to the surface. There's all this stuff that's happening, and I think us as students and us as being this anchoring of this energy, Swami and Baba and the Guru Parampara want to be in this planet at this time, is helping just to keep everybody around us kind of sane, if you think about it. I mean, we're channels. We're holding this energy. It's really quite amazing. I have to keep remembering that, and try not to get too caught up in the day-to-day Maya of what's happening on the planet right now. But just keep remembering to check back to the Guru Parampara. Remember that everything that we're doing, we're putting at their feet. They're taking care. So, yeah. Is it okay if I read about the Shaktipat? Or should we, that Mary gave? Because you were talking about soulmates. And soulmates, I think, for the process that Jesus had, his mother as his soulmate, working in tandem to carry forward and to do this Dharma is really important, because I think without his mother, he would not have been able to succeed. So is it okay if I read from the book?
One minute. I'd like to hear Metzschild. Could you talk a little bit about your comment and what your feeling is?
You're actually doing these things. Yeah.
And Can you repeat your question, please?
You just talk a little bit about your comment. I think it's so important.
Yes, I felt even during Shivaratri time and afterwards, I had a lot to integrate in the physical body, and which brought up things out of my subconsciousness in my consciousness. So the process of clarification and gaining more conscious about what is about still what kind of Maya is preventing me from creating what I want to create. So it has been intense. It has, especially on the physical level, and also it wasn't easy to figure out what part is my own process, and what part is I'm carrying for humanity or for clients, or things that it's not always easy.
I think that's thank you. I think that's the greatest challenge, because we're here to work and bring that truth. So we're working with the energy within ourselves, but at the same time, you're transmuting the energy for clients and family and everybody else. So it kind of it mixes together. But the really important thing is that it's happening through your physical body. You're pulling this high divine energy and you're working on your own consciousness. At the same time, it's the consciousness of everybody, because we're all connected.
Yes,
we're all in the same field, so it's challenging, but it's happening through our body, our physical body, because we are the structure holding that energy.
Yeah. And I also feel it is important to accept and to surrender to the process, and not to feel guilty or something like something is wrong with me, or I'm still working on the same issues. And that is important to say, okay, I'm clearing on a deeper level, and I'm fulfilling my dharma at the same time. And it is not easy sometimes with the physical body.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. I think that's like one of the biggest challenges.
And to give up all plans, all imaginations, all we think we would like to do or we had planned, and everything doesn't work sometimes. Nothing works.
And so what is there? Surrender, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and that can be very painful.
But keep up the light, and to know even this will have an end, but somehow it reminds me on a certain level to crucifixion of ego parts or karmic residues. Right.
Absolutely. Cutting, refixing, or if you want to call it transmutation, or turning that negativity into positivity, clearing. There are a lot of words for it. Yeah, thank you for sharing.
Yeah, has been a good experience. Anyway. Finally.
Claudia, do you want to speak on your comment, please?
Did you mean me?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, just what I said, or what I borrowed. I know this very well, that I don't know somehow if it's me or another person. especially because I go very deeply in resonance with the voice, with other people. And so I have really to take care, and the same feeling often as Helmut. And then we have to say, you now go to the water, you take a bath, you decharge, you have to do the arati now. So it's round the clock work, completely. 24 hours.
You're
And
doing
the best moment I have when I speak with the tree from the balcony. I have a look to the English garden, and there's nearby a very good tree, and I really do speak with a tree at least 2-3 times a day, and this is really giving so much response to me with the air and the birds, and this is really then balancing something. The best balancing. And take a bath. Yes. Water, 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 water.
Got to cool down your fire.
Yes.
And that's an important point that you're making about decharging. How many people are decharging? I mean, we're all healers, and we're all taking, on this energy as, like Mohini said, transmuting, the negative to positive. And are we all remembering to make sure we're decharging and taking care of ourselves and being gentle with ourselves?
This is very, 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 very important. And I'm in Toastmasters International. I don't know if you know that. This is a speaker world. And when I have the Zoom meetings, 20 people like that, it's for me like, whoa, like that, yes. And often I don't like it too much, because so much vibration is coming. And I really have to decharge that. Always decharging, always. And the other people, I feel very much that the other people, of course, don't know what that is. They just are in their feelings, in their wanting, in their wishes, whatever, and are creating criticism about this time or not, or what. Always something, here. I feel it here. It's like that. And it's, for me, it's only with certain exercises with voice, then I can balance it. Then I can balance with the people. But people who are only conscious about what they say and don't know how they say it, like a vibrational feeling, they are completely in the illusion, because they are in the mind and not in the energy. And with the sound of the voice, you are in the energy, and with your mind, you are saying what I say. But what I say, for me, it's not so important how you say it. Really, the own heart is in your voice, and then you can balance the field of some people like that. Round the clock work, I can say.
You're doing your Dharma very powerfully.
But sometimes I'm very happy just to be alone and with the tree and the birds.
Well, you have to take care of yourself too. So
yes, I have absolutely.
Yeah.
Hello, this is May. I'd like to add,
please,
a comment to the point about integration of what we have received, and be mindful of transmuting negativity to positivity. I have a few years ago, I would say quite a few years ago, I have firsthand experience of energy, having received a tremendous blessing of energy from Baba, and I innocently shared it with someone, and that someone was powerful enough, I guess, who then proceeded during the hours of my sleep, basically sucked all the energy. That was the most spiritually strong heartbreak I have had along this path. And I've been with Swami since year 2000. So I just want to add that to be aware, I guess that's why Swami said that if you receive some blessing of some special divine blessing, keep it within you. Let it digest. Do not share for a period of time until you digest it. And that is very important too. So that's adding to the integration part. So just beware, be thankful of the great gift you received and store in your bank account, use it for healing, whatever it may be. Use it to help transform humanity little by little. And try not to share it, because there are people who would, it's not personal. They are powerful enough that they want to just suck it, to increase their power bank. So just be aware. That's all. Thank you.
Well, thanks for sharing. That was a really great point. Because we receive huge energy sometimes from these experiences, and it takes, or from anything we do, any process, it takes time to digest it. And Swami talked about, like at the Shiva Ratri program, the video at the ashram, about transferring the energy to your soul. What does that mean exactly? It's really about the digestion process, since our soul is contained, moves around, it's within our blood, contains soul energy, but we have to digest it. It has to integrate into our physical system, our container, our energetic field, which is an expression of that. So, I mean, it is a process, it is truly a process that we have to go through. And it's such a great point, because sometimes when you have these amazing experiences, our heart is open wide and all we want to do is help somebody, family, friend. And, because you want to share that amazing experience, which is wonderful, but we have to go through that process of integration first, before sharing the experience itself. And that's really, it's true with any experience or with a process. You have to fully digest it before, because so I just think that's such a great point. Thanks for sharing.
Maureen?
Thank you so much for this beautiful satsang. I am really, really grateful for all of you.
Thank you for showing up, May.
So I just wanted to share on what May was talking about in a couple angles, and Mohini is to use your power spot and deposit the energy into your power spot consciously. And that's, one way that you can just utilize the tools. I mean, right now, I am just so grateful for the tools that I've received from Swami. And I feel like I don't think we need to debate the idea that the world is a little bit coming apart at the seams right now. I do believe it's a leveling up, but it is a world event. It's not this country or that country. And it's a little unprecedented. And every time I would go to the ashram, I was never able to live there. So I always had to go back and forth and back and forth. I started to notice that there was two things that Swami always gave us in every process, which was number one, protection, and number two, strong womb chakra. And I just really started to question, wow, he's really giving us a lot of protection tools, and this is really interesting. And I truly believe that he was fortifying us for this very time, these few years that we're in the middle of.
of this big transformation of governments and the way we do our schooling systems and the way we do our banking systems, and things are really crashing. So I have just sat and just done arrows for hours and hours, and I've done Dada Kriya, and I've done all of these different mantras. The mantras to me are the gold and the power spot. These are the gold, and of course I decharge too, but sometimes I feel like you guys were talking about, I don't know if it's my purification or if it's collective. And at some point I just thought, what does it matter? We're all one. I stopped trying to discern whether it's mine or not. I don't think it matters. I think that everybody on this call is a spiritual warrior, and we are here as a warrior of love, and that we are in battle. I really feel like we're in battle. We're in a battle of light and dark right now. And we're on the side of light, we're holding the space for love. And we have all these amazing tools. And sometimes we think we're just sitting in our own little bed or a living room or meditation room, how much can we be really doing for the planet? And I want to just say, don't underestimate the power of who you are and what you have and what Swami gave us, and the Guru Parampara, and our power spots and our mantras that we have, right underneath our conscious, we can pull up at any time. And so this is just, that's what I wanted to add.
Mitchell, you wanted to, you had your hand up. Thank you, Doreen. Really appreciate that. Mitchell, if you had a question or wanted to share.
Yes, Doreen, I think it's really true that Swami gave us all we need to walk through every depth of a process. And I also rediscovered some tools and some items, how to work through the challenges. And the risk is really to forget, to put the items aside. And I kept it for clients, but somehow I forget to use it for myself. So that's good to remember. And to Gayatri, I wanted to add, I feel that the vibration on Earth is so speeding up, raising up, that the years before I always felt somehow a difference when I came back from Penukonda, back home. There was a difference. And there was like a pause between the ashram courses and events. There was a pause between Christmas and Easter, or between Shivaratri and Easter, and the vibration was somehow moving down and climbing up again. And these weeks, I didn't feel that difference. I felt it stayed the same level. It was continuously speeding up, raising higher and higher.
I have to say something to this. I already spoke to the Toastmasters, and I was little careful before when will be the time. And I said last Thursday to them, imagine the whole planet is an ashram. The whole planet. And somehow there is a master, And I told them then that at this ashram, we had situations where we really were crazy or not very calm, and Swami played with us, Yeah. And we have this now on the whole planet.
You feel the same like me.
Yes, and carefully I speak with people who were not at an ashram,
Yes.
telling them another point of view to the whole situation, not just saying there are bad people and they are good and they are bad and good. You know, this
No, no, no.
friction.
That's not what I
Just
want to say.
what is coming out of that? That is the important. What is coming out of that situation? Not the situation itself. The situation itself is somehow a game, a play. But what is coming out of that? And so many precious things are already coming out. They wouldn't have been here 2-3 years before. You couldn't speak about certain things. And now the people are such under pressure, and suddenly, and so the educational system is not so bad because they don't murder each other, but they try to think better and in a different way. And this is coming out in a way. So good things are really happening around us. And you don't fix to be, he is that, she is that. Don't just be on your path and be clear for the divine inspiration, and then it will come out what have to come out. Somehow the master is there. You know, with you, I can say to you, there's a master. But by the Toastmasters, I'm a little careful. I say, just imagine that there is one who can do a little inspiration. And they accept it. Yes, it was a great discussion.
Ronalda, you wanted to say something?
Did you say me? Yeah, so after the puja, we've had like a separate thing for Swami's birthday or Samadhi, whichever it was. God, there's just been a huge shift in everything. And there was something to happen to me. I don't want to get into the details of it, but it was 30 years ago. And then at work, I had 3 men. It was sexual harassment. One guy got fired. The other guy got written up. And I just yelled at the other guy and he left me alone. And then last week I worked Monday and that was it. I took the rest of the week off because it was just like shell shock. And on the Monday, they fired 30 men and they were fired by women. And the incident that happened to me was 30 years ago. So to me, that was the universe telling me that this is now resolved and taken care of. And then, I took the rest of the week off and I would, sometimes check my mail. And then Tuesday was, we are no longer having meetings that are going to be an hour long. They're going to be 15 minutes to 30 minutes. And it's called mindfulness meeting. And, there's a whole big training on it and all that. And it's just been shift after shift after shift happening. And I'm seeing it. And I was just like, I see it and it's just, I have no words for it. And then I wanted to jump into the topic of, for those who might not understand, like my sister has also joined Polly. And so talking about Shaktipat and the relation to Ash Wednesday, if you guys would be able to talk about that just for a minute, it would be greatly appreciated. Thank you.
I don't think Swami said anything, but I'm sure it's got some probable connection back to the use of ash, maybe, because everything came,
Well, it's
Jesus
on
brought the
your
teaching
third eye.
from India. So I'm thinking, you look at the rosary, looks like a mala. You look at, ash, using the ash from Ash Wednesday. I'm sure the original had points, but I don't know of anything that Swami ever said. Do you guys, about Ash Wednesday? Other than that's more of a Catholic
I
newer
don't
teaching.
remember.
Yeah, I mean, I see the similarities, even in terms of how long Lent is, the use of ash. I mean, there are a lot of things in the Catholic Church, they use, like incense to clear during holidays.
Frankincense.
Frankincense, right?
And at deaths as well, they use the incense to smudge.
Right.
The
They
casket.
use the water, the holy water when you come in.
Yeah.
So
Right.
I think, yeah.
So, and it's we can find that in a lot of different religions, the use of, water and fire, smoke, and, so there's a lot of similarities. I don't remember Swami specifically talking about Ash Wednesday though, but the ash, I mean, you put it in the same, you're putting it on your third eye, which
Yeah.
is, where we put, we transmit energy through the third eye, either through anything. We can use ash or sandalwood or nothing, just your thumb.
Ironically, they also do it with their thumb.
Do they? Oh, right. Sign of the cross, right? Oh, interesting. Yeah.
It's really amazing because
And when you do the water, you do it with your third finger, from what I remember. Is that
So I'm sure there's a lot that got lost
Mhm.
and that was
throughout
what's
time.
your water finger again?
The
Water
ring,
is-
the ring finger, the ring fingers.
Oh, the ring finger. Okay.
Hi, this is Pam.
Oh yeah, that would be
Pam,
it. Sorry.
go ahead, Pam.
Hi. Yeah, hi. I was wondering, one of the questions I've always had is, did Swami ever explain, or did you guys, or did anybody in the ashram ever find out what the origins of the cross were? Who originated that?
well.
Do you want to talk to that, Paul, since we talked about it yesterday?
Yeah, I mean, it's quite interesting because actually Swami had sent me to Jerusalem to go and take photographs of a lot of things which were used in the book. And one of the things that we brought back for Swami was a cross that was from Bethlehem. And he talked about it in different ways. He explained the significance of the cross as being the personal yantra of Jesus Christ. And it's quite interesting that he was actually crucified on his own personal yantra. So you've got a lot of mechanisms that are there. And from what I understand is that you've got the horizontal version and you've got the vertical version. The vertical version represents the male energy, the Shiva energy, and the vertical is the Mother Divine. So it's a Shiva Shakti mechanism from what I understand. And it's a quite powerful yantra, and everything that revolves around that energy is quite powerful. You see it in a lot of yantras, and Swami even talked about it. He said that that the cross is actually contained within the swastika as well, and that it's a very, very, very powerful symbol. So that's all that I can remember about that, and I really wanted to talk a little bit more. I hope that answers your question, Pam. That's about all. That's about all that I know about it. I would also recommend meditating with that symbol as well, and seeing the vibrations and the energy of it. but that's my best recollection about it. So I wanted to address a couple things during this time cycle that I think is really important between now and next weekend, which is Easter. And there is a very tangible energy that is upon the planet right now. And it is a time to capture the energy of this moment. There's a lot of Christ energy that is present. And one of the things that we've talked about was the importance of capturing the time cycle. So, and what that means is that to receive that energy, even though it's a representation of a time cycle, even 2,000 years ago, that energy comes back around the same time. So my point is that we want to capture and to receive and to also reflect upon the energy that is there. Would you say so, Mohini and Kausiki, that this is a really important time and that we want to, part of the satsang here is to help each other leverage that time in a way that will help us spiritually develop, integrate, receive. And also I wanted Mohini to talk about, well, how do we capture it? What should be our intention? What do we do with it? You know, it's kind of like, what should we do? You know, what should be our context? What should be our sole responsibility during this time to help us evolve spiritually? Because that's really why we're here.
Mhm.
And because it's 11:20, I want to be respectful for everybody's time, because I know that during this, even this satsang has been evolving. You can tell that the energy all of a sudden just descended, and then all of a sudden a lot of people started sharing about, you know, how much transformation and how much change is happening in us and around us in our lives, that's manifested in the nature, whether it be at work, whether it be at Toastmasters, whether it be at, you know, with our physical bodies, whether it be, ultimately it's about our consciousness, how this is a reflection of the time. This is a reflection of how our consciousness is shifting.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, I mean, if everyone, I mean, you might have done this already anyway, but as these different energetic cycles come up and you're doing this work, certain things start to happen. Like before any program, like when we go to India, or, you know, now there's, like Gayatri said, there's no breaks anymore. You know, it's just like constant. And Mektil also commented on that. But, you know, the energy brings to you what it is that you can look at during this time. So think back on the last week, 2 weeks. What themes have come into your life? You know, what visions, images, what information have you received in your meditations? I mean, it's a powerful time to really reflect on that. I mean, I found that in the last couple of weeks. You know, there are things that popped into my mind that I haven't thought about for like 20 years. And it's like, you know, so much so that I started to take notice about it. And I started looking through old journals, you know, because Swami says, keep a journal, keep a record of your process. And, you know, it showed me where I am and where I need to integrate. And that's always the goal. Let's optimize the use of this time cycle. And so what is a crucifixion about? You know, it's letting go, refixing, moving to that next higher level of integration in your life. And as you do that, it affects everything around you too. We're here, we're lifting the energy of the planet, ourselves, we're evolving, like Paul just said. So for myself, I've been looking at what has the energy been showing me? And, you know, where do I need to integrate? And if you ask the question, you get the answer. I mean, and that's basically it. You know, Swami always said, follow that inner voice, follow that inner guidance. It's the inner guru. You have the answers. You just have to ask. And we always use our sankalpam to direct the energy. So you ask the question, the energy shows you. And then, in your heart, you place your intention. And it really is about that cycle of destroying what no longer serves you, removing blocks, and then coming up to that higher vibrational level. I mean, if you look at where the Jesus book starts, right? It starts with block washing. I mean, and people, sometimes I roll my eyes too. It's like, oh my God, going back to that again. But that's where it starts. It starts with, okay, what is it we need to let go of? Because we're not only, it's ourselves, but we're also doing this for others. And that goes back to the issue of, where do we end and other people begin? We're doing this work we're all one, and we're doing this work. We're moving into that place of merging, right? That unity consciousness. So as we do for ourselves, we are also helping other people do energetically, because we're moving into that vibration of, that ascendance, because we all have to shift. One person can't shift. We're all shifting together. And, we are those anchors of the energy that are pulling it upward, falling upward. I think, Gayatri, you might have said that earlier. So, it's asking that question, going within, because whatever is within is without, so, and then using that time cycle to connect to that energy. It's Christ, right? And it's that cycle of birth and death, life and death, transformation, and connecting to the energy. And, Swami gave us everything. We use abhisheks, we use fire pujas. Those are powerful. We have our power spots. It challenges us to use the tools that we have. We have mantras. We have, mantras that connect to Jesus and Christ consciousness. So we can use those in our meditation. We use our sankalpam always to drive the energy. So what do we want? That's the sankalpam. Let's place the intention. You intend for something to happen. And then we go back to, okay, let's go back to the letting go, the cutting to refix. This, the transmuting of whatever the negativity is. And we can use abhisheks, the different power objects, that connect to the Shiva energy, Jesus as Shiva, the fire pujas to generate, and bring up the energy, and the mantras during meditation. And we have lots of tools. We can pull energy from our power spot to do it. I mean, it's a perfect time to pull it, because we're going to pull it, digest it, integrate it, and then move on. And it's a cycle. It begins really, I would say, Friday. I mean, it's building, but I would say, Friday is Good Friday. It's that 3-day cycle, the death and then the rebirth. So it's Friday, Saturday, Sunday of next week. So those are the peak energy times that we can implement what we've been given. And you have to trust yourself. It's that inner guidance. You know what you need to do. You know what's going to help you. So it's just tuning into that. And it's a great time to just recharge, let go and recharge. So
I say what I've been doing, I started like a week ago. I've been using Swami's personal mantra plus my personal mantra. And I have a crystal lingam, so I've been holding on to that as I meditate. And I will tell you, it always is a very powerful meditation connecting to Jesus and using his personal mantra. So that might be something that you guys want to try doing and really start deeply connecting to his energy.
mm-hmm.
I want to tell you something. Since several weeks we have in Germany the rule to take really very dense masks, and I don't like when it's too dense. It's really hard to breathe for the breath. And I had to go to the supermarket, and you have to do this. And I was so in a little bit, because why should I wear this now? And then I started very softly, not loud, inside of me singing Jesus. Jesus, 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 Jesus. Only, you know, Swami said, Jesus, his name is a mantra. And I did this, and I was not expecting, suddenly the energy around me was so great, all over the supermarket. So with this name, you can do everything around. The people don't realize it, but that's not important. You have the energy, and it's around the supermarket and through the supermarket. Okay, in this sense. So it is possible to wear this these masks. Behind the mask, you can do great things.
It's a great example. Thank you.
Okay, is there anybody else? Because it's 11:29 before Trinity.
Hi, good morning, everybody.
Morning.
So glad to be back in the US. I've been back a couple of days and I'm very happy to be here and in this energy, very uplifting and very soul nourishing to me. So thank you for the satsang. And I wanted to ask a question. I don't know if it can be addressed at this point, which is the comment that I read that Ronaldo made regarding the Shroud of Turin, that there's an Om symbol on the Shroud of Turin. I had not heard that before. Could somebody speak to that?
At the very top, if you Google it right now, you can find the photo. And if you look
Okay.
at the very top, there's the Om symbol right where his
Forehead?
third eye would have been.
Okay.
For me, I don't know if you've done any of the Jesus yantras or anything like that, but I had such a, I don't know, I was in awe because I physically saw in the shroud, in the photo that we had to do that work and draw that yantra, that the Om symbol was indeed right here.
Okay. Okay. I will do that. Oh, you
To
froze
me,
a
it
little
was
bit.
just further confirmation that
You know, the other thing I
oh,
want,
it was getting.
Thank you.
the other thing I wanted to say was that one of the cities that Jesus was given was the ability that if ever anybody called on his name, he is required, because it's part of his dharma, that his soul has to come. So it's kind of like, you know, when Gayatri was saying that, you know, Jesus, you know, that those bijaksharas, those vibrational frequencies, it's no mistake that his soul is linked to the nature, because it is his soul that comes through the nature to whoever calls his name. I mean, it just blows my mind. You know, when you take a look at the yantras that, you know, the Mother Divine yantra, you had Jesus is actually written in that yantra in the palm leaf books from 3,000 years ago or 2,000 years ago. It's our job to experiment. You know, I always feel that Swami used to say all the time, you know, you're soul scientists, which means that he gave out all this knowledge and information, but it's our job to really have it be real, have it be within our experience. So it's really important to practice, experiment, work with these channels, see the reflection in the creation, to meditate and contemplate when the energy comes. What is that energy? How can I receive that energy and interact with that energy in a way that deepens your experience and validates your relationship with that energy. That for me is the most important thing, because then it becomes alive. Then it becomes real. Then it becomes like, oh, I get it. You know, I can call on Jesus and Jesus will come in some shape or form that is real to you. Not just a concept and a belief because Swami said this. You know, he said, you have to taste the flavor of the mango for yourself. Then you can integrate that experience into your body, into your soul. That's the purpose of these satsangs, so that we can share amongst each other and validate our experiences, and then go back and then implement it into our processes. So you can put into practice every night saying, I want to experience firsthand this amazing soul we call Jesus. Please come so that I can experience it and know it's real. I want to experience that divinity. I want it to be real for me. I want to have a confirmation from the nature about this soul. And you can go to Jesus directly. You can go to Mother directly. You can go to Swami Kalshwar. You can go to all of them. And then wait and see the reflection back. That's the point. We don't want this to be theory, but we want this to be reality. We want your reality to shift from the physical to the supernatural, and to open up that relationship so that it becomes consistent on a day-to-day basis.
I would like to add something. You know, Jesus said, when two meet in my name, I'm with you. And here in Europe, especially Germany, we have now, for the time of Easter, we have no possibility to meet more than 2 households. And we have much stress because the people are feeling isolated and cannot meet. And so the churches are closed, you cannot have was heißt ein Gottesdienst, Mechthild? The people cannot have Gottesdienst. They cannot go to church in a group. And there is a couple in Switzerland who are very connected with Jesus. And they said something very good. They had a vision that in all great cities are only 2 people that is allowed, 2 people that is allowed, are meeting in his name and are praying his name together. And after a couple of hours, you can meet the next one person. And again, in his name, you are praying together. And so after a couple of hours, again, you can meet another person and pray together. So for me, it's like a picture. All cells of a body are very crazy and don't know where to be and are isolated. And suddenly there are 2 cells meeting and creating a light. And over there, all 2 cells are meeting, creating light. And it's like a body, the planet, is creating something new of connection and breaking the feeling of isolation.
Thank
I
you.
hope I did get it enough good in English. I'm sorry, I'm not trained.
That's interesting because, see, it's taken it out of a building that people feel like they have to go to a building, when in fact you can create it no matter where you're at. It doesn't have to be in a particular way.
No,
We all have it in us, and we just create from where we're at.
Yes, you create with 2 persons, you create the church, you're together in his name,
Exactly.
there. And suddenly the whole atmosphere is coming, because the people can witness this, that there's no isolation if you don't want it. And
Right.
if you're not in your panic or something, you can open up. You can open up. Two people are allowed to meet.
Andrea,
Beautiful.
you wanted to.
Yeah,
you
I wanted to add something what you already said, Paul, when you were explaining the process, how to connect to Jesus, and I just wanted to share my experience with that over the years. At any time when I did that, so when I got in contact with Jesus, I always got a response, always. So it's just that we don't do it right away, not thinking about that, doing it. So I really can, from my own experience, at any time when I got in contact and I was looking for him, I was calling him, I was talking to him, at any time there was a reflection back. So I really, so invite people really doing that and take, and using the time that's coming up. Yeah.
Okay, so unless somebody has anything else they'd like to share, we'd like to respect the time since we're over time and do closing mantras. And anybody have any questions? Okay, Ronaldo?
Yeah, I just wanted to quickly know if you can share the Jesus mantra for the new people that are on here.
Yeah, it's Om Na Tali Rudayam Na Swastanam. Om Na Tali Rudayam Na Swastanam, which means my mother's heart completes me.
Can I ask a question on that? I'm sorry. I was there's an H, there's a sound before Rudaya. Is it Hudaya or Rudaya?
I always thought it was Rudaya, but
Hrudayam. Hrudayam means heart.
Rudayam.
Rudayam. Okay. Okay.
H-R-U. Hru.
It is
Rudayam.
Hru.
Yes.
Hrudayam.
Hrudayam.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for the clarification. Thank you for everything.
Mhm. So what's the instruction, Kausiki? What should we do with this mantra? Should we
Well,
sit in with our personal
Sit
mantra?
down. What I've been doing is I've been doing his personal mantra with my personal mantra. And I just, for however long you want to sit down and do the meditation. So you'll just have to experiment. So you could do it 20 minutes a day up until Easter, 30 minutes. You can go longer if you'd like. If you find the energy, it becomes very beautiful, very peaceful. It's really a beautiful energy. So I've just been doing that pretty much every day for the last week going into Easter. So you guys can try it out.
And if you don't have a personal mantra, you can just use the mantra by itself.
Yeah. Exactly. Okay. Anything else, or can we do closing mantras? Oh boy. Paul.
Go ahead, repeat it again. And then you could write it down, Mitchell. People ask, can you write down the mantra?
Swastanam, I think is how it goes. Hrudayam na swastanam.
Om Natali Hrudayam.
Oh, Natali, that's right. Om Natali.
I
I
think
forgot
Claudia wrote it down.
Natali. I'm sorry, Natali Hrudayam na swastanam.
Gayatri put it in there.
Yeah,
Um,
thank you, Gayatri. I appreciate that.
Hey, I just want to point out the swastanam, the swastanam, the ta, the second ta is a longer sound. Swastanam. It actually means destination, home, sanctuary, literally. So swastanam. So So I just want to point that out. Thanks.
You'll find your own rhythm on it, like na Om Natali Hridayam, na Swastanam. You know, it has its own energy. You know, it's an amazing vibration. I mean, it's just amazing vibration. And then after a while, the mantra will repeat itself in its own rhythm in your own consciousness, and just trust. And if you have a difficulty with it, ask Jesus to guide you. Jesus, I'm trying to connect to you. Can you please come down and just correct my pronunciation of this mantra and see what happens?
And he will.
And you will.
All of a sudden, you'll hear it in your ear.
So faith and trust, and
It will run by itself.
yeah,
Really, it's very sweet energy. It will run by itself in you.
yeah. And then take notation to your experience. Trust your experience. Trust your soul is connecting to his soul on a supernatural, super causal level. And then just allow that energy to connect. Okay, Kausuki, I think we're ready to, we want to wish you a great week and Easter weekend. And we'll be in touch. We're going to pass through this Easter time. If you feel like we need to do another satsang sometime after that, just let us know. We're here to support and to serve. We're getting together some knowledge after Easter, and we'll let you guys know. But feel free to share and to ask any questions you guys might have. And if you want to have another satsang after Easter, just let us know.
Om Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Happy Easter, everybody.
God bless.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Happy Easter.
Bye, everybody. God bless.
Bye.
See you soon.
Bye.